let's talk about codependent love. Is it even love? We'll get there. Versus interdependent love. Unhealthy love versus healthy love. Let's begin with understanding codependency, its roots, its origins, how it plays out in our adult relationships, how it makes us feel, and how we project ourselves in the world. Most of us, not everyone, but most of us have an unhealthy relationship to relating itself, to people, to relationships, to how we show up. And most of this is vested in feelings of low self-esteem, insecurity, inadequacy, not feeling enough, not being enough at some level, not being enough to the environment that we find ourselves in, whether it's our family, like our family of origin environment, whether it's our partnerships, our communities, society at large. We feel this detachment. And it's this sense of self that we have that focuses completely on the other needs of the person and not our own needs. We minimize ourselves in a codependent relationship and we maximize others. This builds resentment. Resentment is like stale anger. We have this anger that's festering and festering and festering within us, and we just feel so disconnected. And it's painful, right? Codependency is something that so many people suffer from, and it creates an unhealthy dynamic in relationships with self and with others. See, what happens is we carry this low sense of self-worth when we are in relationship, that we bring that insecurity into the relationship. That means how we allow others to see us is not always generally in a positive light. And so when we're talking about codependency, we're understanding that this way of being in relationship has developed from a young age, from a dysfunctional family dynamic. Let me provide some examples. For example, you had one parent that was never there. They were physically and or emotionally absent. You developed a pattern of making sure that their needs were met. You went above and beyond because somewhere in you thought if you do that, if you just give them everything they need, if you're extra sweet, if you're extra nice, if you go the extra mile, if you do more chores, if you just be this greater version of you that's beyond being quote unquote authentic, then maybe they'll stick around, maybe they'll give you the attention that you need. Maybe they'll see you for what you really are. Now what happens is, generally that's not met. You're seeking this constant validation, this constant approval, this constant need to be seen, and it's never met, so you need to do more, like a quote-unquote addict or someone that has a compulsion towards a particular behavior. This is how it's formed. And so enough is never enough, and so you wear all these different masks. You think, well, I'll try this, but if this doesn't work, I'll try something else, but you're never really being yourself. So this dysfunctional pattern of behaving, coping, surviving, problem solving, it really revolves around the needs of others, trying to appease them. And codependency really is a rigid, unhealthy, structured, rule-based system that we've entrenched ourselves in that influences who we are in the world. And that can become pretty painful, right? And so what goes hand in hand with codependency? Love compulsion, or the term love addict or love addiction, although that's an ambiguous term. I prefer using the term love compulsion, this compulsion or propensity towards a particular behavior that prioritizes others over us, and us having to be seen in a particular way in order to feel validated and worthy and enough. So we're talking about codependency coming from a dysfunctional home where one's needs and intimate needs have not been met. We show this love and this attention to everyone but ourselves. We learn. It's a learned behavior that then we prioritize others over ourselves. And so what generally happens is we continue this pattern in our adult lives where we're choosing emotionally unavailable, depressed, angry, repressed, grieving, physically disabled individuals, emotionally disabled individuals who reflect our own childhood experiences. But why do we do this? We do this so that we can heal that wounded part of ourselves, so that we can feel whole, that we don't feel fragmented, because it requires so much energy to be someone that we are not. So, again, if one of our parents was angry or abusive, we will generally choose either someone that is very angry or abusive, or someone that is the complete opposite of that, because we have so much fear from that. And so what's going to happen is we will then try and save our partner. We will save that partner from feeling so angry and abusive, because we're playing out those old patterns. Now, what is some of the biggest fears that a codependent individual has? And if this is you, some of your biggest fears are abandonment. So you will do and you will be and you will behave in such a way that avoids abandonment at any cost. That means your self-worth, self-reverence, self-respect, self-reliance gets thrown out the window. It takes a back seat. Love for yourself takes a back seat. Now, experiencing this lack of love and emotional support in your life because you're not giving it to yourself, you're not really allowing anyone else to give it to you, you're a terrible receiver if you're codependent. It is a struggle to receive love, gifts, anything. And you're also accustomed to experiencing more than likely abusive behavior from your childhood. Therefore, you will tolerate it in your partnership. Again, that's a lack of self-love. You're not able to set healthy boundaries. I'm going to go into some comparisons of what healthy love looks like and unhealthy love, or codependent love, and interdependent. I've got a mental fog. Interdependent love. If you're in a codependent relationship, so why am I giving you these distinctions? Because it can help you potentially identify, if you have a few of these clustered and you can notice these patterns in your life, you can identify, am I in a healthy relationship or am I in an unhealthy relationship? So generally you're going to make excuses for your partner if you're in a codependent relationship. You're going to hide the reality of the relationship, particularly if it's abusive or narcissistic or one-sided. So you'll take care of everything in the household and outside of the household, because maybe your partner is tired or depressed, or they work a lot, or you don't want to see them get angry. So you'll lie for your partner, you'll make excuses, you'll downplay the amount of work that you do, and you'll lift them up. Now, what does this do though? It builds resentment. So this isn't healthy, because ultimately you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You're trying to validate your existence, validate your self-worth, validate whether you should be worthy of existing at all. And what happens is the opportunities that our partners become opportunities. They become mirrors for us to behave differently. As children, we generally couldn't behave differently. It was very difficult to do so. It was very difficult to behave differently because we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the support. As adults, we recreate these experiences in our world in order to heal, to become more whole. Now, we're always whole, but it's a coming back into, it's a recognizing of wholeness. It's a recognizing that we're not broken. That's actually what we're doing. We're recognizing our true nature, which is wholeness, which is light. And so, and by the way, there's nothing wrong or bad with darkness. The darkness is the absence of light, and we lose that flickering, we lose that connection to who we truly are. And so we recreate these circumstances in our world in order to begin to heal the past, because we have greater tools and capacity, cognitive, emotional function, spiritual function, and a physical strength, resilience, and toughness, at least the capacity to endure some of the difficulty that comes with transformation, neurological, behavioral, emotional, relational. And then, and only then, can we start to really begin to choose relationships that are healthy, aligned with us. So let's look at some codependent characteristics again, and how to tell, am I in a codependent relationship? You're going to feel an immediate intense attraction. Okay, you're going to feel an anxiety if that person treats you differently, or if that person is not completely present for you. There's this anxiety of, are they abandoning me? Are they rejecting me? Are they not liking me anymore? Am I not worthy enough? I need them to validate me, and it can be very intense. So it's important that we're not, again, a codependent relationship is going to idealize and ignore the differences that are non-negotiables or make or break a relationship. The codependent individual falls in love very, very quick. They don't really get to know each other. And when they do start to know each other, when you do start to know that person and you become disappointed, instead of setting healthy boundaries, you change and morph yourself to fit the relationship, or to fit the ideal of what you have, of what that person could be. So in other words, it's a fantasy-based relationship. You're going to cling to romantic fantasies of love. And that's going to constantly pull you back into the dynamic, no matter how unhealthy it is for you. You're going to, in a codependent relationship, you will subtly attempt to change your partner by changing yourself as well. It is so complex, it is so dense and so difficult that what do? So you continue to wear the masks, you continue to feel resentful, and you continue to feel unloved. Codependent relationship does everything for the partner and nothing for yourself. You live your life through them. You don't have an opinion. You don't have an idea of what you really want. You're always going with the flow. This is a codependent relationship. You're basing your actions. You're waiting for them to approve you, to give you a smile, to make you feel happy, to tell you how amazing you are so that you can think you're amazing yourself. Now, in healthy love, it begins with it can be of course very sexually connected, but there's a friendship there. There is a base for platonic love. The Greeks say that the platonic love and platonic friendship is or love-based friendship is one of the greatest loves to experience. This way of getting to know each other's values, each other's ideals, sharing interdependently, having a firm opinion of who you are, having a belief and a knowing of who you are, and being willing to hear the other person. In a codependent relationship, that doesn't exist too much. So you get to know each other and accept each other's differences if they're in the container of what is your non-negotiables. So if the differences are too big and the chasm's too wide, you can confidently leave with respect, with reverence for the other person, with trust for yourself that you're making the right decision because you are able to make the right decision. Decisions aren't being made for you and you don't have that conditioning. You grow to love each other deeply. You're able to make commitments together and you're able to honor the commitments and you're able to check in with each other as well. This is more interdependent, healthy love. Your love and acceptance for each other deepens gradually, or at least progressively. And so what does that mean? It means that you allow yourself to see all these different versions of yourselves and your partner, and you observe, does this serve me? Does this serve my highest truth? Can I be the best version of me in this relationship? You learn from each other's differences and celebrate each other's differences. And you're open with it. There's a transparency and an honesty with interdependent, healthy love, whereas with codependent love, there's a lot of hiding and shame. You feel supported in an interdependent relationship and you can speak your truth with respect to if you don't feel supported. Now, let's be real for a moment. There are many other factors that influence healthy love and interdependent love and healthy conscious relationships, and I've done other videos on what does it mean to be in sacred union and a conscious relationship. However, I'm going to stop there because I think that's a good amount of wisdom around healthy love versus unhealthy love. But let me give you some guidance to just get out of codependent love or codependent relationships. So this people pleasing needs to stop. Practicing saying no is a complete sentence. It's really healthy for you. But if you say it abruptly, if you say it without compassion and empathy, if you go from being a complete people pleaser to being completely rigid, you're going to be met with a great deal of resistance and tension. So in order to not be massively disappointed or upset or triggered yourself and trigger the other person, you've got to do your inner work around your self-worth. Beginning to value who you are. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? What value do I bring to the world? Every morning, wake up and mention to yourself out loud 3 things that you bring to the world. Start to work on your self-worth. Start to know that you needn't be defined by your parents, that core wound, that unconscious core wound, that unresolved unconscious core wound from a young age. Work with a therapist. Work with someone to really equilibrate that within yourself. Now, when you're arguing, for example, If you're in an argument, learn to walk away first with respect and compassion. Arguments are going to happen. Create agreements around how you argue. And if you feel the intensity coming and you're going to lose your power, because in a codependent relationship, if you're the codependent one, you will lose your power. Take a step back. Okay, go for a 40-minute walk. Research demonstrates that if you go for at least a 40 to 60-minute walk or engage in some meaningful activity like just reading a book or a magazine, your nervous system calms down. The stress hormone that was being released and activated subsides. You can come back to the conversation in a very, very different way. Learn to focus on yourself and love yourself first. That means doing things for you. That means putting yourself first. That means maybe exercise, healthy eating, engaging in hobbies that are interesting to you. Be very mindful of that. Be aware of falling into relationships, literally falling and catapulting yourself into relationships with abusers or addicts. Look for the signs. So if you are with someone who constantly cheats and you refuse to leave, it's saying something about you as well as saying something about the other person. And so can you not try to change them or appease them, but can you honor yourself and make a self-honoring choice? You're not alone. It's possible to move away from unhealthy relationship-based tendencies, such as codependency. And just know that if you seek help and support, you will get through this a great deal faster. Power and blessings to you. I'll see you soon.